We are in the home stretch of the recruiting cycle. It's the Rock and Refuel Recruiting Roundup. Jason Jewell, Jordan Ham, covering everything in the state of Arizona recruiting related, and we have a lot to get to. First, we're going to start with the number 2 player in the state, Isaiah Pola, committing.
Yeah, he commits. The Mountain Point safety commits to USC. I don't think it was a huge surprise. A lot of people had thought ASU had a chance. He had Washington also in his top 3. But what a fantastic get for USC. He's just a guy that we've been watching since he was a freshman on varsity and making all kinds of plays. A 4-star guy. Great get by USC.
Now, he fills up the stat sheet on both sides of the ball, 10 interceptions this past year. But what does he do that doesn't show up on the stat sheet that makes him a special player?
Well, I've watched him, multiple times over the years, and what really stood out to me this year as a senior is he was more of the field general. He was directing guys and helping guys out in the secondary and making some calls on that defense, and it just showed that he was a lot more comfortable with what he was doing, and he's grown and matured as a football player.
Speaking of high-rated safeties, Jerrell makes his commitment.
Yeah, another highly rated guy, 4-star player from Saguaro High School. KJ is going to join some of his teammates, and he pledged to stay local and stay at Arizona State over offers from Cal and USC were his top 3.
Arizona State continues their trend, also adding another tight end.
Yeah, how about this story? Mark Walton, Yuma Cibola High School, first Division I player out of Cibola that I can recall since I've been covering. And this is a guy that had just South Dakota State, a couple weeks ago, ends up getting Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and Vanderbilt. Goes to an official visit to Arizona State without an offer, walks away with one, and he commits on Sunday morning. Guy that's 6'5", 230 pounds, obviously very under the radar, but was the state's leader in receptions by tight ends.
Now keeping it in the Pac-12, Basha offensive tackle Jonathan Nathaniel committing to Washington State while on a visit.
Yeah, so this is a fit perfectly for what Washington State does and with Nathaniel's strengths. So Bash is known slinging the ball around, and that's exactly what Washington State does. So Nathaniel's strength is pass blocking. So he goes to a school where they throw the rock. So I think this is a good fit. He was a guy that had about 10 scholarship offers, including one from the University of Arizona, but he takes the visit to Washington State the very last weekend and commits.
And we're keeping it on the offensive line. And under the radar guy, Micah Vanterpool, commits to Hawaii.
Yeah, we've been talking about him. He was a guy that heated up here late, had multiple offers in the Big Sky, but also had UNLV in Hawaii, took a visit out to Hawaii, and ends up pledging to the Warriors.
Air Force got Parker Walton and Sam Pepper last week. They add a trio. Yeah,
you get 3 more good players. You get Trey Bugg, who we saw in the state championship game, Williams Field corner, making the interceptions. I thought that's a very good pickup. DeAndre Hughes, Tempe High School, another safety, a guy that very underrated. If he was a little bit taller, I think he's a guy that ends up possibly with Power 5 offers. And then Riley Erickson, the kicker, out at Desert Vista, is a guy that's following up Connor Culp. So 2 years in a row now, Desert Vista is going to have a Division I kicker, Culp at LSU, and now Erickson at Air Force.
Speaking of special teams, a Perry long snapper makes a commitment.
Yeah, how about the string of long snappers that the state of Arizona has put together? But Adam Higuera over at Perry High School, he pledged to Tulsa over the weekend.
Now, with this time of the year, a lot of flips are going to happen. We're moving on over to that now. Chandler running back T.J. Green was a longtime Oregon State commit, flips to another Pac-12 program.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that this was going to happen because there's a strong tie. There's a bunch of kids from Chandler High over at Oregon State, but Utah jumps in very late. He ends up, T.J. does, visits Utah and flips, and he's going to sign with Utah on Wednesday.
Now, Shawn Few Words committed last week. We talked about it to Boise State. A couple of Pac-12 programs come calling, and now he's reconsidering some things.
Yeah, so UCLA had him scheduled for a trip, and then he ends up committing to Boise State. He didn't have an offer from UCLA at the time. They hired a new offensive line coach, Hank Fraley, former Philadelphia Eagles center. They end up offering him a scholarship, and I thought he was just going to commit to UCLA, and now Arizona State jumps in, so we'll see. It's going to be probably a signing day decision on what he does, if it's going to be UCLA or USC.
Daniel Peabody from Ironwood Ridge was committed to San Jose State, now makes a flip as well.
Yeah, so Ironwood Ridge, he's a fantastic football player, one of my favorites to watch on tape this last year, just because of how he played, just tenacious, but was committed to San Jose State, not as an athlete, but New Mexico comes in, another Mountain West program, gets him to flip, and they're going to use him more as a tight end in that run-oriented offense.
Hamilton wide receiver C.J. Jarman, we talked about him last week, had committed to Idaho, but now makes a flip as well.
Yeah, how about this? So C.J. talks to texts me on Monday night and says, hey, I'm going to open my recruiting back up. I said, what's going on? He goes, well, LSU offered me a gray shirt. So for those that don't know, a gray shirt's when you delay your enrollment and you enroll next January. So CJ's going to sign with LSU, but he's not going to enroll in the fall. He's going to wait a semester and enroll in January. His mom ran track there, so kind of a no-brainer going from Idaho to LSU.
Plenty of news happening in the 2017 class, but now we're going to shift over to some offers for some underclassmen, starting with another Saguaro playmaker getting a Pac-12 offer.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just rattle off a couple names here. Josiah Bradley, the athlete over at Saguaro High School, offered by Washington. He's the guy that is going to be their running back next year, but I think he's going to be a safety or maybe an outside linebacker at the next level. But Washington's offered him, and then Joey Ramos, the top offensive lineman of that 2018 class, adds an offer from Arizona State. U of A had just offered him the week before, and he's now at 6 Division I offers. But staying over at Deer Valley High School, Des Melton got his first offer. He's a 2019 prospect. He's a kid that's played running back at Deer Valley High School at 6'4" and 210 pounds. He's not going to stay at running back. He's going to end up being a tight end, I think, down the road. He's got 2 more years of high school, but he got his first Division I offer, and it comes from the University of Arizona, and he's going to get plenty more because the kid's a freak show.
There's plenty happening this week. Make sure to keep it to the Rock and Refuel Recruiting Roundup.